Okay, so can games really change behavior? Threespot, an interactive design agency, and Planned Parenthood created a series of mobile apps to show that it can. James Early is creative director and partner at Threespot and has been working in the interactive design industry since the CD-ROM days. He contemporizes brands online, and he turns complex content into intuitive user experiences. And he designs across multiple channels, including web, mobile, social, video, and print. Liz Ott is also at Threespot. She's the account director and responsible for developing relationships and strategic guidance for clients such as the Pew Charitable Trust, Planned Parenthood, the U.S. Department of State, and the Brookings Institution. So Liz and James teamed up with Deborah Levine, the Director of Online Health and Education at Planned Parenthood, where she works on digital strategy. And Deborah has a very diverse background in education, human sexuality, and nonprofit experience. She's been a high school teacher, a sexuality educator, a trainer, and a teen peer education coordinator. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to them to show you how games really can promote change.
Thank you. Can folks hear me if I don't use the microphone? No. Do you want to walk? Sure. So just by a show of hands, how many of you are familiar with Planned Parenthood? Laughs. Not everyone is. So let me just tell you briefly, for those of you who are not, and also just for those of you who may be surprised that we're here at a games conference, why we're here. So Planned Parenthood is best known for the over 700 health centers that we have throughout this country. This is Planned Parenthood Federation of America, where we provide a range of sexual and reproductive health services, so STD testing, birth control, etc. You may be less familiar with the fact that we have thousands of health educators who go out into the community, schools, etc., and do in-person sex ed. And in addition, at the national office, as well as some of the local affiliates, we're looking to translate what we know about sex ed in person into the digital space, and hence our foray into games.
Great. So at Threespot, where James and I both work, we focus specifically on nonprofits and causes in government. So this time around, we partnered up with Planned Parenthood to really address sexual health disparities. Specifically, that number of unplanned pregnancies and STIs are significantly higher among African-Americans and Latinos, ages 15 to 19. For example, the gonorrhea rate is 19 times that among Black teens. So we really wanted to dig into this audience, specifically that 15 to 19 age bracket. There were several things that we knew. One being that they all are very active in the digital space, and also within that age isn't necessarily a distinction. However, some of them are having sex and some of them aren't, and there's a need to kind of get behind the ones that aren't even thinking about it yet and address some of the ones that need to make better choices.
So to that end, Planned Parenthood decided to jump into this space and develop tools for middle schoolers, so we're talking 13 and 14-year-old, as well as for high school students. I'll talk about those for the middle schoolers first. So our goal really here was to translate some digital behavior into offline behavior. For middle schoolers, the main goal here, and we are talking about 13 and 14-year-olds, is to encourage them to wait to have sex. The average kid in America is having sex at about 17, and yet some kids are having sex earlier than that. That's the average age, and we're looking to make that a little bit later for kids. So we created a set of tools for the middle schoolers. What's your love personality and where do you stand are quiz-based. At the end, it presents a personality type. In user testing, a kid said, "That's so me." But ultimately, our goal, someone yesterday talked about stealth, was to get them to commit to waiting to have sex, to set that intention online, and then hopefully that would translate into offline behavior. The kickback is a little bit of a choose-your-own-adventure. They get to see modeled for them through videos what it looks like to say no to drugs, alcohol, and an invitation to go up alone at a party, which the kickback, we learned, is what kids are calling parties these days. And so they're able to see that, as well as then choose their own way of responding, and then see how that works out, whether it's too passive or too aggressive. In Awkward or Not, another quiz-based game, they get to figure out if their parents are ready to talk to them about sex, which again was starting where they're at because they think their parents are uncomfortable, but research actually shows that kids are much more uncomfortable than their parents are, and so it then gives them tips for talking with their parents. And then what's your future plan is a little bit of a, I call it scrapbooking because that helps us sort of wrap our brain around. I'm going to show you some slices of it. But for kids that have a plan in mind, they are more likely to avoid risky behaviors. So this is one tool that they can, one way that they can sort of capture what it is they want to do. So just to take a look at that one. And what's your future plan? They basically get to map out and choose images that match their career plans, their job plans. There's some questions about how many pets they want, so there's fun thrown in as well, how many kids they want, and then if they indicate they do want some kids, when they want to have those kids. Again, in user testing, one girl said, I never thought about when I want to have kids. We were like, bingo. So the tool then asks them to consider what having a kid now, what impact that could have. Would it be more difficult to reach the goals they've just identified by choosing images that reflect those goals? And then because we know that just knowing I want to graduate, we need to take the small steps there, so then it also gives them a series of actions they can take and commitments they can make in this year to reach those goals. And those are all aligned with what the research says actually we know helps kids avoid risk behaviors. And then for the older teens who are, if not yet having sex, about to have sex, we wanted to make sure that these online experiences would translate into the offline behavior. Our focus was on encouraging them to use both condoms and an effective form of birth control. So Been There, Done That is a little bit of a video adventure. They get to see other teens talking about their opinions about using both condoms and birth control, another form of birth control, and then express their opinion. And at the end of that, they're asked to make a commitment to using both. My Birth Control is for teen girls to find an effective method of birth control that will work for her and what's important to her at that moment. And then It Takes Two is an opportunity. It's a different path for boys and girls. They get to see videos of other kids talking about what it takes to use birth control consistently and accurately, birth control and condoms, as well as answering some questions about their own feelings about that. And then Fast Forward is just like What's Your Future Plan, but it's tweaked so that it matches high school students. So again, what we're looking for here is to translate these online behaviors to actual offline behaviors. In order to ensure that that happened, we started by partnering with a research team from here at NYU's Silver School of Social Work, the Center for Latino and Adolescent Family Health. And they really provided us with the grounding in the science that was necessary to ensure that we were putting in all the ingredients that would be most likely to translate into these offline behaviors. They're the research partner. Planned Parenthood's job was to translate that research into practice, and then Threespot's role was to make sure that what we did translate that practice into design that teens would actually use. Just to give you a sense of this, and this is sort of a key slide for me, I'm not going to explain everything that's on there, but I want you to understand that we based the tools on this theoretical framework of adolescent risk behavior. We know from the science and the research that these are the factors that determine whether or not someone sets that intention to wait or sets that intention to use a condom. And then other factors that translate that intention into behavior. These kinds of theoretical frameworks are available widely in the academic literature, and I strongly encourage you to seek them out in your own work if you're trying to actually impact offline behavior change. And if you're not sure how to do that, I welcome you to contact me. I would be happy to help you figure out whether it's sexuality or other topics. So just briefly on the process so you understand, again, translating what we know works offline in sex ed, we made sure that the process was really robust to ensure success. We did meet with kids, over 300 kids throughout the process at 3 different points in the process, all in the target audience, Latino and African-American 13 to 17-year-olds. We did a very robust literature review. We brought together an advisory board of experts in the field of adolescent development, as well as folks who'd done online interventions. And then we did a development on paper, put that in front of more kids, and then developed them in practice and put them out for beta testing. We had 46,000 kids click on ads to use the tools. And then we did 6 in-person groups, revised after all of that, and then launched in October.
Thanks. So Deborah talked a lot about the focus on translating these online games to actual offline behavioral change. Planned Parenthood's currently seeking funding so that they can set up testing to sort of test the success of offline behavior change. But what we have so far is online results. There's been over 100,000 users of the games. Of the users during the beta phase, during the beta phase, 47% of users were within the target audience, and we also found that the average duration of a session was 4.5 minutes, which is 3 times that of a standard app. So it did prove that games were a good way of getting this information to the audience. But a few key takeaways that we wanted to leave you with today. First, be prepared to market. With an intervention like this, the audience isn't looking for the message. Planned Parenthood had success with a Facebook campaign targeted at the southern states. It drove traffic to the tools. But marketing efforts like that take time, energy, and resources, and that's essential to getting the content to the audience. Be prepared to iterate. Through beta testing, we found that some refinements were needed. We made those refinements. Through analytics, we may find that there's additional trouble spots, and we'll need to address those as we move along. But the important piece is that the tools are actually out there being used. Lastly, use science. A solid scientific foundation will inform the work that you're doing, and ultimately it can be used as a framework to test whether actual behavior change is being reached. Thanks.